Hello, Internet and YouTube. Welcome to another episode of TeamWatch. I haven't recorded in quite a while. We just got last two episodes out after. Well, we've been kind of busy, but we're back on it. Um, Today's episode, I'm number 10. I have guest with me of Megamulani, who has been waiting for an
Uh,
episode for quite a while.
yeah, I have IGHM Discord conversations.
Yeah.
But I'm Megamulani. Uh, I am most known for in the AG community specifically, for being the coach of IGHM. In other communities, I'm known for my own team and a little bit of adminning for the PWO in space and HCL while that went on.
Nice. Um, so back to the thing. It's been a while. You've been wanting to do a TeamWatch episode for like the longest time. And I have been mostly interviewing a lot of the players who are in this community because you don't really play a whole lot for this community, um,
It's more
unless
I
you
don't
play in
really
like,
get the chance to. It's
uh,
more like that because amateur, like I've talked to him about it before. He prefers to do tournaments for the lower tier guys.
yeah,
So because of that, somebody like me, where I'm a little bit of a higher tier guy, like I'm just a Lucio. People say that, but like even in lower tiers, my Lucio seems to be doing a lot of damage. A little fun fact: for quite a while in the high tier tournaments and whatnot, I had the highest average as a Lucio. So whenever I would shoot, I'd be normally outputting a lot of headshot damage, a lot of damage in general. That's why I don't know if you've ever heard about it, but that's why like when we scrimmed IGHM for the first time with my actual team, that was like one of the big reasons why I like pick on Air for that because the story was that we were on Eichenwald, we fought each other, Lucio v Reaper. He picked up two 75 health packs and I won the fight without taking any damage.
wow,
So that was like so that's a thing. Whenever I would like sub in for lower tier teams or anything like that, it was like a huge difference from the comms and like personal Jill Lucio damage output and all that.
yeah, like that's pretty cool. Um, where'd you get your name, Mega Mulani, by the way?
So people normally don't ask me that because people mostly just call me Mega. But originally my PSN was Milani, just Milani. It wasn't Mega. So people used to call me Mulani, Mulani, Mulan. People just call me weird stuff. It's supposed to be my last name. Um, the thing about the account was why I switched my accounts was because I that account was registered under a Middle Eastern server, and I moved to Canada, so I needed an NA account for whenever I wanted to buy things online.
Huh.
And I don't know if you know this, but for Call of Duty, this was big for COD. If you buy a DLC on an NA account, it will not work on an account on a game disc from Asia or Europe. You
Really?
need to buy the DLC from there. Yes, because apparently they have like different codes per game, and the DLC you buy has to be specifically matching that. So it was really awkward, and I actually got screwed over a couple of times with that because I bought like an Assassin's Creed 2 DLC on my Middle Eastern account because I assumed my game disc was from like Europe or Asia, and it wasn't. It was actually from NA. So I wasted roughly like $5, five like American dollars on a DLC that I couldn't even use.
Wow, I did not know you. I did not know that worked like that. That's interesting.
Yeah, neither did I, and I got pretty mad. My money
Dang,
just went down the drain.
that sucks. No. Um. So the big elephant in the room. We just got done with the AGL season 2 playoffs yesterday. Did you watch all of
Yep.
that, or how much of that did you see?
So I watched it all the way until Vanquish's last map, And
Oh
then
yeah.
I kind of just went to bed because I recently got back from India, so jet lag has been hitting me pretty hard. So because of that, I just went to bed. Um, but yeah, Jade just didn't drop a map at all, I think. Correct me if I'm
Jade
wrong
didn't
on that.
no, because I watched all YouTube side and cast for it, and Jade did not drop a map. They dropped a round of Oasis in their final against Vanquish, but no maps were dropped. And they're quite the amazing team. Like they're so coordinated and their DPS is just so stellar. And Krogan is like one of my favorite players. Like this man Zen is nutty. Like it is just so ridiculous. But yeah, do you know because we're supposed to be doing like a best support and tank and DPS, aren't we? Like for the um AGL season
For the
2.
play for the end.
I think so.
Um,
I thought so. I could be wrong. Are you part of the
I
AGL
mean,
staff?
no, and I don't think I would be allowed in for reasons I'm assuming you know.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
No, I left
Uh,
the staff today actually myself because uh when I was on there I was gonna be on the consistently and I was supposed to consistently cast, but ever since I got that promotion, uh I have been working like freaking crazy, and I haven't had time to put in as much effort, and I haven't been able to put in as much time as I would have liked. So I'm not part of the AGL stuff anymore as well.
yep, I could definitely feel the same about that, working like crazy. I've been dying to switch to PC, and I have 2K saved up right now.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, I plan to fully switch to like PC come near the end of December.
Dude, PC is
Hopefully
where it's
midway,
at when you
but
want to get competitive with it. I mean, that's where like World Cup players are gonna be playing. It's like that's where you need to make your impact.
um, yeah, but obviously the biggest thing though is mouse and keyboard, obviously.
Yeah,
We don't know how that affects certain people. Like, for all I know, on PC, I might become like a projectile god, or I might be like a Mercy one trick. I might be like a Mercy one trick in bronze, or I could be like a god in
yeah,
top
cause it's
500. It's
it's
very
different controls,
unpredictable.
and I think, well, you like me and you, we have like the game sense to I would assume to be passed to at least like a platinum or diamond because that's what I've heard from all of the people that I've played with around my tier level. You're a higher tier than me, but still like they go from
Yeah.
masters to PC and they'll be in platinum on PC and then break diamond eventually. Um, but so I would assume if because you're like what GM top five? Are you top 500?
No. I've never actually hit top 500.
Oh, I see.
I remember season 4, I got to 4.2 solo queuing. Not like I was going off that season, but I didn't have my 50 games played, so I didn't hit top 500. And then I just fell to 3.6. This season, I was gonna go for it. I got to 4.1 within like the first week of comp, but then like I had to go to India, and now I wanna decay to diamond and finish off on my GM badge.
Yeah. Not even I'm looking at your profile right now. It's
Oh yeah, speaking about SR, I don't know if you know this, but me and Ink were talking about it. Like our career-wise, SR-wise, are we're super similar. It's actually really creepy. I think this season might be the first season where we're different because I'm decaying out
yeah.
of everything.
Well, your career high is 4198 in season 4.
Yeah,
Um,
I
that's
just round
crazy.
up to 4.2, but yeah.
Honestly, I
I did
think
that solo queuing though. I did that solo queuing, but then I dropped all the way to 3.6.
yeah. See, I think I could hit GM if I put the time into the game because I don't even play competitive anymore. Like I stopped when I hit masters and I was like, "Yep, that's good enough for me," because otherwise like I'm not gonna really or I can't play with my friends if I go too high and there's still like a bunch of people. But And this could be me just being like, oh, I could totally hit masters. I'm amazing. Like, I don't know. Maybe I couldn't, or I mean
On
GM. Maybe I couldn't hit GM, but I felt I could feel I could do it if I grinded it out. But it's kind of boring for me, honestly.
Honestly, I think majority of the problem with the community and why people can't climb is because one, people don't respect metas. Like I'm looking at it, like I'm always trying to convince Vanquish. I always try convincing IGHM to do the same, but teams they don't really like to run meta. They don't like doing that stuff. Like for example, like Vanquish and Jade, like they were both running that ball majority of the comp, and that's because that's sort of like their bread and butter, and those guys don't want to respect dive at all. But it's like if those guys could like master dive, they could have absolutely rolled them. Like a lot of people don't realize this right now, but Ryan is so bad right now. This meta,
I don't know.
there
Like,
people keep
explain
running
the
him.
yeah.
If it's not King's Row, there's no reason that you should be running Ryan Zarya because as a Winston, you can just do so much more. You not only that, but you enable your DPS to do so much more as well. For example, let's say you're a Zen in the back and you've been killing my soldier a lot, and I'm Reinhardt. I switch to Winston, I dive you. I'm not protecting my soldier anymore, but I'm on you. So either one of two things is gonna happen. Either A, the team's gonna focus me to help you out to survive, which is gonna leave my 76 to go wild on you, and that's not even talking about my other teammates. Like, what if my tracer comes in and just one clips you while I'm zapping you?
Yeah.
But I jump on you, so I'm doing that damage. I'm doing the melee on you, and I jump down, so I cancel the animation, and
Yeah.
I'm zapping you as it is. And I have a bubble down, so people are struggling to damage me. Um,
What if it, because I do this when I'm when I'm playing into a Winston Zenyatta as well. Like you're close to like play kind of close to your teammates, or at least you're around me. Like not super in the back line for that specific reason that they can't. If they jump into you, I can either retreat to my teammates or do something similar then too.
but the problem with that is assuming that somebody could melt down the Winston really quick. That's where Diva comes in. That's why Diva is looked upon as like that's why a lot of top 500s were specifically calling for the nerf of Diva. If you look back at it, it wasn't really like people asking to nerf Mercy, Lucio, Winston, or anything like that.
It
Everybody
was
was
Diva.
asking to nerf Diva.
Yeah, the
Because if
defense
I put a
matrix is
defense
ridiculous.
matrix on my Winston, it doesn't matter. The only people who can now damage my Winston, assuming you're running that ball, are Ryan,
Yeah,
people meleeing, or Zarya. And that's assuming if you're running that ball. If you're running a diva of your own, then that takes her out of the mix too.
yeah,
And even if I dive in on you and you're surrounded by your team, I do AoE damages, Winston. Tracer can still come in and one clip you, then go for like your soldier or whatever.
yeah.
And Genji, and also Ryan doesn't help anyone other than like hit scan, specifically soldier and
Yeah.
McCree. If you want to run
Honestly,
Genji, which normally teams should be, he has the best ult in the game. Winston enables him more than Reinhardt.
yeah,
Just teams don't want to put in that time and effort into fully master and dive.
yeah,
And there's so many Reinhardt mains that hate Winston, hate certain heroes, that people are never going to improve on that because of it.
yeah. See,
People aren't committed themselves.
I myself, I always loved Reinhardt. Like that was always me. And then let me see, was it season 4? Yeah, it was season 4 when I played Winston for like the first time in because I was like, you know what? Because season 3, I was like, I can play all these tanks except Winston, and then I was looking up Winston videos. Are like, Winston's the best tank because this and that and that. I'm like, I tried it, and Winston's amazing. Um, but the way the way I play Reinhardt even I play it aggressively, and I probably thought I do it like kind of like a damage kind of thing, like a tank DPS. If you're which probably isn't the best way to do it, and I thought this myself because like even we saw Dova. yesterday. Dova was amazingly aggressive, and it worked out well when his Mercy chose to pocket him. And then they couldn't do because Vanquish ran Winston eventually with MW3. Um,
Vanquish.
Vanquish, yeah, or not Vanquish.
MW3.
Uh,
Hey, man.
Turnback, yeah, that's what I meant to say. Turnback ended up running the Winston, and it didn't help them out, but that could have been also because of their lack of coordination with that. Well, what I'm getting is, I guess I wouldn't mind. Or what do you think of like the aggressive Reinhardts, really? Because that choose to go on the offensive and then maybe run. I don't know what you would run with a Reinhardt that would be
I
effective, I
mean,
guess.
the problem with aggressive Reinhardt is trying to close the gap. If you have a Lucier or someone who is able to help you close the gap, or maybe like a Diva, or maybe a secondary shield tank like a Zarya, Winston Bubble, although you shouldn't really use it for that, or Orisa, which
Yeah,
again you shouldn't really use it for that, then aggressive Reinhardt is fine. Aggression is king in Overwatch. You
yeah,
want to win games, you have to be aggressive. You can't stay in the back. You can't be cowards. And another one that not that many people talk about is teams rely too much on ults. I'm guilty of this, and I know other teams are. But whenever there's a switch, like Mex, you're getting countered, and our Mercy's getting countered. Run Lucio so you can survive a bit more, and you can feel for our Mercy. It's like
okay.
I'm
See,
80-12. Do you want me to switch? Like
no,
now, effectively, because you're 80 ult, you're gonna use Transcendence. You're gonna
yeah,
you're gonna take a fight to to gain Transcendence, assuming you don't get picked off in the beginning. All
yeah,
right, you're gonna get in the middle way of the fight, and your team's gonna say, "We have 3 picks, don't use it." So now you're sitting on Trans. Your
yeah,
team
and
but
you still,
they somehow pull out ult, they win the fight, but they picked you off first. So now you still have trance, and now you're going into this next fight,
exactly.
and you're still on
You're
this
still on this
character.
comp that is not going to be working out for what you guys want to run. No, see,
Yeah.
I get that too, and I'm always like, because when I used to shot call with my team, which I was back in, I think I was still diamond at that point. They're like, oh, I'm 80 ult. Do you want to switch? I'm just like, yeah, because I've seen like all these videos of the same thing, like exactly how you're talking or what you're talking about, where honestly, this ult wouldn't give that much value when you could still use your mechanical skills on a different hero and provide a lot more value to the team and help gain that win.
I mean,
No,
I
but
understand what people come. Like, Overwatch is a game where ults do matter more than
yeah,
they should. Um, but generally, sometimes it goes to a little bit of too much of an extreme
yeah,
where it just lets them control them. And that really what messes up teams a lot more.
yeah. I think
And a
the
third
whole. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
uh I just wanted to like put in a third point too. This is more like my complaints to the community right now. Like, hey, you guys need to start doing this, please.
Yeah,
Make the games interesting. Is people aren't really like respecting their roles. Like this was a problem at IGHM when we still had Street. I don't know if you remember those days.
I
Those
never
were quite a
saw.
while
I don't
ago.
think I was in IGHM's first tournament, which was actually my first tournament as well, and they beat us in the semifinals. Uh, as Yin and
They
Yang.
got Street for their second tournament.
Okay, I never played with that then. I was never there. I remember Alloy still
Um,
being there. Um, yeah, for that. Anyway, continue.
so what Street and Alloy, the problem was is that Alloy was a better Diva and Street was a better Winston. But Alloy was also a better Rhyme and Street was a better Zarya. And this problem
Oh,
also comes in with like teams like Turnback. It persisted a little bit with like IGHM2. You saw a little bit with Skybound 2. Is Skybound, I think it was like Old Thunder, old one with Heroic when Heroic was the first one there. Is people don't really have like they don't stay on their roles. I know Pulse had a big issue with this. I actually used to like I used to like I think I told them once about it. So essentially what these teams had were a role issue. So if they wanted to switch the dive, they had to force like a role switch, or if they wanted to switch characters, like with turn back, if they want to run like hit scan and like projectile, which is normally J and then like J on Genji and then TDT on like Reaper, and let's say they switch because it's a Pharah, but they feel like they should have a projectile. They feel like they should keep the Genji because of no matter what. These guys
Yeah.
aren't like projectile DPS and hit scan DPS. These guys are the exact same. I think
Yeah.
flexibility should be good between roles if needed, but it seems like this isn't even like a leisure. This is more like a necessity. Like off tanks can't switch. Shiny and so Shiny Fighter and Playmate, their sport duel was like this. So if there was a Mercy, it was Playmate. If there was a Symmetra, it would be Playmate. Shiny would play literally everything else. If she was on Mercy, and she wouldn't get off Mercy at all. And if she was on, the only time she would get off is when she's on Symmetra, and that's the only time Shiny was allowed on Mercy. And essentially, people don't realize that this really messes up like the momentum for certain teams. Like for example, like a Lucio Zen combo.
I love Lucio
Um,
Zen.
so essentially, let's say I'm the better Mercy on the team, but you're the better Zen. So we're running Lucio Zen, whatnot. We're like, hey, they're running Reaper Tracer. Let's run a Pharah. Completely fine, completely logical. Hey, let's do one better. Let's run Pharmacy because they have Diva and they can dive you. Again, completely normal.
Hmm.
But we should keep the Lucio. Zen by himself is pretty bad. They're gonna dive you with the Tracer. So now I switch to Mercy. I've just lost my ult percentage on Sound Barrier, and you switch to Lucio. So we just lost both of our support ults because of my inability to play Zen or your inability to play Mercy.
I see what you mean there. Yeah. Um.
And also it's also play styles too. Some I'm gonna use Lucio a lot because I'm a Lucio main,
Yeah.
and
I also play
I
enough
think he's
Lucio.
the
Yeah.
yeah, and he's the best person when I talk about different play styles because I see so many people play a character like Lucio who's incredibly simple. He probably
Yes.
has one of the lowest skill ceilings in the game. I'll
Yeah.
admit it. But you can play him so many different ways.
Exactly.
You can
Like
heal, you can
it's
be a
like
frontline support, you can
Lucio's
speed only heal.
Lucio's room is just so big because the entry level is so low, but then you can take it to another level uh, when you have other characters who take like a higher skill to start out with, and then you can't get that much output out even if you get like amazing with it. If that makes
Yeah.
sense. Yeah.
Yeah, it does. So essentially different play styles. So let's say I'm always speeding when I'm on Lucio, and you're always healing because you're not used to fast speed. And
Yeah.
normally I'm on Lucio more. I'm on Mercy. I fly fast. I'm always flying with people, so I prefer speed. So now because of this, there are going to be moments in the match where it's like our Reinhardt is going to push up expecting a speed boost,
And because I'm
and
on
you're
Lucio, I'm
healing,
healing instead. Yeah.
and then he's
It
going to drop
changes
his
the
shield
flow.
and just feed ult because of it. People don't realize it, and this applies to Diva. This applies to every other tank. There are
Yeah.
tanks that so, there are Winstons that dive specifically DPS first because they don't like taking damage, and then there are tanks that dive supports first because they know that their DPS will help them melt them.
Yeah.
Not that any specific playstyle is wrong, but it's like it does happen like that. And whenever you role switch, you start messing people up. And also, you get into awkward situations like with Alloy and Street, let's say, where we have a Reinhardt and we want to run a Diva. Well, our Reinhardt is also our Diva player. So now we have to put our Zarya player on Diva. And because he's not practicing Diva, he's going to be the worser Diva. And he might be feeding, he might be throwing really weird bombs, he just might be super awkward on that role because he's not the one practicing it.
So you're essentially saying having flexibility is good, but you should usually stick to the roles you're most comfortable with and what the team's most used to being around with.
Not stick.
Because like you like having rather the Lucio that they usually play with rather than throwing like, okay, we need this, so we're gonna have someone who we don't usually run Lucio with be the Lucio.
Yeah,
Essentially, yeah.
and but the one thing I would say, it's not really like stick to a role you're comfortable with, because obviously you should do that. That's a given. But it's
Yeah.
more like respect the role you're on.
Yeah.
It's more that.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, those three things, I think if people start working on those, that's the big difference between like lower tiers and top tiers. Like when you see projectile players, they can play like I'm gonna use Ace Louis because I know he's played quite a bit in amateur gamers, and a lot of the guys actually know him. He's most known as a Genji player. A lot of people like mock him as like a Genji one trick, but it's like he can play all the projectiles in the game, and that's normally how it is. You look at Orbit, one of my guys, K-Bish obviously also knows him, wanted him for a while. It's he can play all the hit scans. Now Orbit can play a really good Pharah, and Ace can play a really good Pharah, play a really good 76. But they're respecting their roles. They know where they're strong at, and they prefer to keep it in that area instead of trying to be like orbits are Genji, then aces are McCree, then orbits
Yeah.
are
This is our
Tracer, and he's our Genji.
Yeah, you want to be like, this is our projectile player, this is our hit scan player, this is our off tank, this is our off support.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but obviously, like, but don't be afraid to learn heroes in the other pool. Like, if you're running
Yeah.
Tracer Genji, Tracer's popping off, Genji's not doing that well, and they just got Pharmacy, obviously you'd want the Genji to switch to Soldier, so you do want your players to at least have that ability.
Yeah. At least have something in the pocket for a rainy day, just to so you're not
Yeah.
super weak to a particular comp and they can tear you up because they know you can't flex around it as much as you would like to.
And also, I would say there's certain characters that I would say in each position, so like support, tank, DPS, that both players should know. Like for DPS, I would say there's like five heroes that like both DPS should know, no matter what. 76, Pharah,
Yeah.
Reaper,
Yeah.
Doomfist, and I would say Widow. People don't really
Ooh.
look at Widow and Doomfist that much, but I would say those two.
Doomfist is amazing with the burst damage and has great potential. Like TDT is probably the best Doomfist that I've seen play, in at least. And not a whole lot of teams in the amateur gamers Discord really play Doomfist. Um,
I don't blame him. He's broken right now, like bad broken. I don't know if you've seen the post or not.
I saw that he'd been nerfed to all hell, and then he recently is getting a like buff so that, or I guess a change where when you punch someone, even if you're at an angle, you should still get the full damage of hitting a wall. Um,
No, no.
or
Apparently Doomfist is bugged to hell. Like he has incredibly a lot of bugs. There's a big Reddit post.
and I could imagine why, just because Doomfist is a hero that the damage he does is where when you're hitting like others, when you're hitting him against a wall or something. I always noticed too, like his slam on the ground to bring people in wasn't like the best when it first came out, because I know if you jumped and then used the slam attack, you wouldn't get as much charge as if you like were at a high ground, a high place, jumped off a cliff, and then you would get way more power out of that way. But I haven't seen a whole
Um,
lot of the bug stuff.
yeah, but it's an incredibly well detailed long post. But also like specifically why I put Doomfist in that list is because Doomfist actually works really well around the team. You can run him with like a Tracer, 76, anything you want, or you could run him with like a Genji, like as they do with J-Stars. You can Doomfist is really flexible, like in that sense, where he can play around each other.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah,
No, there's all these
though those are
comps.
the DPSs.
Yeah.
Those are DPSs. There are a few tanks and supports as well, but
Like if you're a
yeah.
tank player, what's all the tanks you should at least know how to play? All of them.
For both for both people, it should be Orisa, Winston, Hog. A
Okay,
lot of
that's
people don't know this, but whenever a new meta comes out, Envy normally what they did. I don't think they're gonna do it anymore with their current lineup. But what Envy used to do with like Internet Hulk and like Tailspin was with a new meta is they would always go back to Ryan Winston. I think they did it with Mickey. Don't quote me on it,
Yeah.
but they always go back to
Mickey's the
Winston Ryan
amazing
because Winston.
diva player, right?
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
an amazing off tank. His Zarya
Yeah.
is insane too.
I haven't seen Zarya play though. But yeah, continue.
I saw it in the World Cup and I saw it in a couple times actual game. But
No.
Ryan Winston is incredibly powerful. Um,
I like Ryan Winston combo actually myself too.
yeah, a lot of people have submitted it. Ryan, Zarya, obviously you can always run that, but that's more Zarya, Hog. They're more like off tanks only. The reason why I specifically say Diva could be on main tank too is because Diva has potential to be a dive tank. So for example, if you're running a dive comp and you're doing really well, triple DPS dive, but they have double hit scan and your Winston isn't doing that well, you can put him on Diva and he could still do the same job as a Winston would.
Yeah.
So that's why I would say both tanks should definitely know Diva. Um,
See, I
and
Diva's like one of my least compatible tanks that I've played, and I love playing tanks and I can play most anyone, but I can't get Diva down for some reason, or I guess I haven't really tried as well. Um, and I don't know. I just
have you
need to get
tried it
more.
with the new one with the rockets?
I haven't played a whole lot of DPS Diva Rockets. No. Um,
I would say
maybe.
this is probably the best playstyles for Diva because now you can still retain your peeling support, or if you want, you can be aggressive. Before it was still possible, but I think people realized that was pretty obvious that you should be more defensive.
When you want to
Um,
feather the defense matrix to be as protective as possible and eat everything in
yeah.
sight. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, Anarissa, we've seen this on Junkertown, and this is coming a little bit more. When you have that double shields, you guys can start splitting up. Your main tanks don't your both your tanks don't have to be together. So for example, like Voskaya, a team tried doing this once against me in comp. It had a pretty good idea, but the guys weren't really like that coordinated with each other, so it was a little bit harder. So on first point Voskaya, what they did was they had like a Rhine, Bastion, Mercy set up on the top left, and they had a Orisa, Torb, and Anna on the right. And so essentially, if we tried fighting on point, we're getting shot down by two angles. And
Mm.
you've seen it on Junkertown where it's Ryan Orisa protecting the Bastion,
Mhm.
or in the World Cup with Canada where it was Orisa Roadhog. Orisa Roadhog is incredibly strong. Just her ability to pull people and then hooking people. Um, what's it called? They called it like the claw machine from arcades. That's what people are calling it a little.
That's awesome, man. No, Arista's really interesting. I've seen a lot of people play Arista recently. Like when she first came out, I didn't see a whole lot of people competitively playing her, but it seemed like I don't know if she got a well, she got the buff with the shield thing and the damage and the projectiles are faster. I remember that. Um, but I just hadn't seen a whole lot of play from her.
Well, that's how it is with normally every hero. Doomfist was an exception because he was broken. His hitbox was big, and he was on a 4 second cooldown for a one-shot ability. But
Yeah,
generally, with Anna, Sombra, Orisa, and now Moira too, you're not. She's strong. People know that, but it's
yeah,
like she's not in any tournaments. You're watching it, teams that run her get railed. Like
yeah.
people
Well,
just aren't really used to them right
I
now.
love using Moira honestly. Like I was playing or I was scrimming against with some people and using Moira was really effective for me. And I don't know if it maybe I'm just clicking with Moira really well, but I love how Moira plays and is one of my new favorite DPS. Actually, now that you remind me that I'm gonna buy her golden gun right now because I've been forgetting to use my points. Anyway,
All right.
but yeah,
Um. Yeah, and for supports, for like heroes that like both supports should be able to play, I think Lucio's a given.
yeah,
Um, Mercy, Zen, and Sombra.
Yeah.
They're
Well, Sombra's such an interesting. Uh,
You can
I
run
th
her as DPS or
yes,
off
or
support,
support.
but
Yeah.
honestly, if your support can run it, I would say do it because there are moments like, for example, like Anubis, where you could run like Mercy Sombra .1, and then
Yeah.
you could have your Mercy switch to a Lucio .2, and it would still be incredibly strong.
Would you still run like Mercy Sombra even with Mercy's terrible animation nerf thing?
Her res
Yeah.
animation.
Yeah, with it being so
Uh,
slow.
I would. They showed in the World Cup. I remember a team in the Mercy meta. They ran the old meta on Voskai. They ran like Mercy. They ran Sombra, Lucio, and she was still incredibly strong. And I think
Well,
that
I'm talking about
more.
Mercy being effective.
Oh, Mercy with Sombra specifically. All
Yeah.
right. My bad. So
Like,
Sombra
as I know,
specifically.
Sombra
I
is
think it.
strong in general. Like, I'm
I
not.
think Sombra would be stronger now. Imagine you in a midway animation, and a Sombra hacks you.
Yeah, no,
That's
I'm
ending
saying
the
on the
animation.
same team. I'm saying, do you think,
On the same
like,
team
if,
too.
like,
You
Volskaya
have to help
defense,
hack.
yeah,
You have to help hack. You help your Mercy stay alive so much more. So she's pretty strong with her self heal after 1 second of damage, but
yeah,
that's not a burst healing, and that can stop immediately. Sometimes those health packs are incredibly useful. Just playing
yeah,
around it. I think Sombra is still incredibly strong, but again, it requires so much coordination.
yeah. Like, Sombra's one of those heroes where you need to coordinate every single EMP because just so, or at least communicate it because there are those ults that you can use if the time is right and I guess, well, at least you should always communicate when you have it ready so people can at least act upon it or be in a position to do that. But Sombras, you really need to follow up on those EMPs.
Yeah, definitely. Um, but something that I think needs to be happening though is that the defense heroes need to get a rework. Most of them actually.
Really?
Yeah, you barely see them unless it's like Widow or Hanzo or Bastion. Anybody else is really weird. I think we in higher tiers. I'm pretty sure my team was one of the highest teams that ever ran Torb because we just ran them as a main support, where I would play Torb and then we would have our Mercy player. That
Yeah.
was the only time we'd ever run him. But it's like Torb's in a really bad position. If teams are equal, then a Torb will never work or anything or any of the defense heroes. If teams are equal, like a May will never work. A Bastion may work for the first time, but the moment you lose that one fight and Bastion setup's done, it's like he's out.
Yeah, because everyone's wary of the Bastion. Everyone, like, Bastion's one of those heroes, like, oh, they have a Bastion because of just the high damage that he can put out, so
Too
everyone's
much of a
focusing
risk.
him. Yeah. Like, surprise Bastion's best Bastion, like, you're playing on like Route 66 and like they're about to put it in and there's only like 10 seconds left. You like switch to Bastion and destroy them and they don't have time, or depending on when you pull it out, they won't have time to regroup really, unless they, yeah. But no, it is crazy. The defense heroes, like May has so much utility though. I'm surprised no like high tier teams don't use more May.
It's because
Um,
it's too easy to counter her. She's only good up close, and there are characters specifically made who completely outshine her in close quarter combat. Reaper, that's a given. He's
yeah.
the strongest close quarters fighter. Roadhog, that's another one. Diva, she's got dual shotguns with infinity ammo, so
Yeah.
it's gonna be hard to do that. Now with rockets too. Reinhardt swinging 75 damage. If he lands a fire strike on you too, you're dead in two hammer swings. Zarya can bubble. Like
I get what you're
it's
saying
really
now.
messy.
Like she has to fight
Yeah.
close range and well, what if you play her not close range? I mean, because you have the icicle spike, but that's not really great because it's projectile and
She's
it's
the
like
only
once per.
projectile with fall off damage.
May has fall off damage.
Yeah, her icicle has a little bit of a fall off
I
damage.
did not know that actually. Well then,
Somebody, I don't play
because
May, but I was like talking to my friend about it. He does play May quite a bit on the Smurf, and he was saying, yeah, there isn't much because we were talking about how can May come into the meta a little bit more, and we were like, it's really hard to do anything with her. Maybe like take off her fall off damage. I was pretty shocked about that too. But yeah, uh, but yeah, like it's really hard to play with these heroes right now because simply anything they can do, they can get outshined. You need damage, high damage like a Bastion, go 76. You need a close quarter fighter, go Reaper. You need a Destructor like May, like somebody who can CC, crowd control, Sombra. She's perfectly fine.
yeah.
Anything that they could do, somebody can do better.
Well, like
Oh, you
Mei's, like the utility from the shield, you have to use to the utmost advantage because you can separate teams and help your team fight, and I think that's where her most value lies is actually in the
her walls,
wall.
yeah.
Yeah,
I remember actually saying that the only reason why Mei will ever be meta is because of walls. But even then, it's like you look at it, dive is so incredibly strong right now. You can just get over a wall, or if you want, you can send in a tracer, put her on the Mei, start distracting her, and then your entire team can walk him through.
yeah. If they buffed Mei so her wall cooldown was less, I think we might
Nope,
see her more.
it wouldn't work like that. Because then if that's the case, then like that still doesn't remove the threat of like people baiting walls and May getting distracted. It,
But
it
then
still
that's a
doesn't
player
remove those
thing too.
threats.
That's a it depends on the
Well, yeah, it
player as
has to be
well.
based around the players. If you're talking about AIs, then every character is viable.
No, I'm just saying like May doesn't necessarily might not necessarily get distracted with just the walls, and she might be aware of her surroundings. Depending, some players might get more distracted, some players might not. That's all I'm saying.
And also, that still doesn't remove dive. Dive is so incredibly strong right now. You can
Yeah,
just get over walls. You don't even have to stay there. And that's not even a player thing. That's a character thing.
yeah. Especially if like you wouldn't. I don't think you would run May against a dive who like if you have Winston, Diva, Genji, like Tracer. Well, Tracer can't really go over a wall if it's like cutting off like a choke or something, but. Um, No, I get what you're saying. Like, I would say use May if they're running like Death Ball, then you might be better. Or I guess
You
if you're
might be
just
good,
stalling,
but
yeah,
then the problem is I could just run a Reaper and that just shuts you down anyways.
this is also true. But playing May, depending on the it always depends on skill level too. Because I've seen like I played May before, just like shutting down Reapers because they either didn't play it right or I played better. And I think in general, if it's all the same players, Reaper would have an advantage, but you have all these players from different skill levels, so I think I think that's one thing I and like in meta in general, I am not a super fan of because where we're well, at least my tier level, everyone's skill up rating is a little different. Everyone's gonna be playing a little different, and everyone's comp may work for them, and because you could have the perfect comp, and if your skill level's not there, it's not gonna do anything against like someone who's running
See,
maybe a less comp.
the problem with that is like because that was actually the defense a lot of Genji players would use. Whenever I played with them and I saw like a Winston messing them up, it's well, I'm a bet. Well, you know what? A good Genji counters a good counters Winston. Well, a good
Again,
Winston counters a good Genji. So you're saying a good Mei will counter a Reaper. A good Reaper will still counter a good Mei.
I wouldn't say counter because counter is like a really like oh counter in my mind seems like this will work. Like I'm just saying that there's a lot of variations because same thing like we saw what's his name Capricorn playing Junkrat into a Pharah and still like winning those fights like which is a little ridiculous and that's because of that skill level but in like if teams are evenly matched, then with the same skill level, then
Yeah,
the
then it wouldn't
yeah
work like that. It wouldn't work like that. Cap would have been getting countered if he played against like a Pharah main, like for example, like Icy Suspect or Elite Big Noob. Like he would have gone countered easily on Junk.
Yeah.
It and that's because those guys are at an equal level. Like the Pharaoh would you're talking about yesterday in the playoffs,
I think
right?
it was like Route 66. I think it was Capricorn playing defense, Junkrat into Farah.
Who was the offensive Pharaoh?
It was. It might have. Was it Team Little Epic? It might have
If it
been.
was Little Epic, then again, that's the same thing. Those guys were an EU team, so they were on EU ping, and I believe they're more of a low
Wait, is Capricorn
masters
on
team
Vanquish?
where, yeah, where
Okay, then
Vanquish
yes,
is more of a high tier team,
because Vanquish did
a
play
high
well.
masters team.
Yeah,
But yeah, that would obviously come in too. But yeah, that's so I don't really feel like though that's a really viable defense.
yeah. It just ended up working for them because of the skill difference.
Yeah, it's
Little
not
Epic
really
fought
because of
well
like
though,
oh
honestly.
skill with character.
I think
They did, but
Vanquish lost the map to Little Epic, didn't they? I thought they did, or they were
no,
close
they were
to.
super close to
Was
losing
it
maps.
Nepal?
Vanquish was choking a lot that the playoffs. Like Lil Epic, we barely beat them each map. And then when you go back and you look at Jade, it's like per round, per map, we were barely losing. That King's Row where they pushed it into overtime. I don't know if you know this, but Sheer got his grab deflected. I don't know if you were noticing that, but he got
I
deflected,
did not.
and
I don't remember
Jade
that.
Jade didn't do anything with the grab, like we were talking about in Discord earlier, but we had something in combo with it. I forgot exactly what. I think Cap had Riptide or Pulse Bomb. I forgot which character he was on, but we had that combo already. And then out of nowhere, the Genji deflected, and everything got completely wiped, and we got messed up off that.
Hmm.
Like we were choking a lot. Um, I'm surprised Vanquish did do as well as they did, considering the fact that AV was gone for a week, and we brought in Swisher, Fisher, and Sheer Lives, who have never played with Vanquish before on a
Yeah,
serious level.
yeah.
It's Sheer. Swisher hasn't played at all. I had to dig him
I've
out of his
seen
grave.
I've seen Sure Lives before. I don't remember where, but I saw him before because the name was very
He
familiar.
was on Bipolar Bears
No, it was
for a
before
while.
that because I'd never
Then
seen
he was
Bipolar
with
Bears.
Vanquish too before that. So
Maybe
Sheer
it
was
was
actually
Vanquish.
with Kale. Kale brought him into the scene, I think.
Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
He was a sub on the Overguard team. I think you subbed for us, so maybe you played with him.
I subbed.
Yeah, did you or was it
I
someone
subbed
else?
someone. I subbed for a team. I guess it was for Vanquish
In the
then. I
Overguard.
did. I did for like
Yeah.
one match.
So yeah, so maybe that's where you met him. You probably just played with him. He doesn't really talk with new people. He only talks with like people he knows. So
Huh.
he probably didn't said anything, so that's why you probably don't remember.
Interesting. Quite
Yeah.
interesting. But yeah, no, there's lots of team comps really anyone can use, and that's what I love about this game. Like the meta is there, and you can use it to your full advantage. But like I love seeing teams run wanky like weird comps and winning like, and it's just fun. And I know it's mostly because if they run like a really weird comp and the team they're fighting against doesn't know how to counter it because they're not used to it, or they don't know what to do, then I mean, it's just all around fun for me to see that. But yeah, um, so how did you even get mixed up in like all this? Like, where did you come into this like Overwatch PS4 like tournament scene?
All right. Now this is a story. I'm
Here's
gonna
the
go on
origin
for
story.
a. I'm gonna go in for a while. This is a little bit of an origin story and a fill-in for Gap. I'm gonna start saying stuff that people don't even know about, and they're actually doing stuff completely unexpected to this. All right. This is people don't normally ask for this because people don't really know anything. So I came into the scene first, season three, the Overguard. Sauce City Light brought me in. Like, he's the reason why I came in because me and Beltran, we have this friend called B-Rose, and he was friends with this guy called Sauce, who was on the number one PS4 team at the time. And he would come and do it with Sauce, and then Sauce one day brought up in the conversation that he was on the team and everything, and they started asking about him. Then I joined. It was mainly because of him. Um, and then I was in the overguard. I was only in the overguard. I made a team called. I joined a team called Enigma Gaming.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we went into our first tournament, and we did really well against a team that was together. We lost 2-0, but the maps were Numbani, which we lost 4-3, and Kings Row, which we lost 4-3 again. And that team finished third in the entire tournament, I believe. But we got first rounded by them. So we felt like we did really well assuming that, and considering the fact that we were missing our star DPS at the time. Um, so we first came into that, then that happened. We scrimmed a lot, and we used to play quite a bit. We used to we only lost that one game, but technically we won every game after. But then the captain was kind of a real douchebag. He actually convinced this girl that we had a mercy main slash diva on our team. Um, he convinced her that essentially she was the problem why we were losing every game that was happening. I left the team before this happened, so I didn't really watch it. But he was blaming her consistently. It was all her fault, and she really started to believe it. And she actually left the scene. Her name was Muzami. She was actually a really good off tank player and like a mercy main. She was really good.
Wow.
Um, so then I just lingered around in the community. I didn't really do anything. Then I started applying. Then I just went out as an FA and I joined this guy's team. He was a YouTuber. His name in PSN is Kyrop, but his YouTube channel and his Twitch channel was like Destiny Chit Chat. But when I joined the team, I started talking to this guy called Neon TB, who was on the team as their support player, and he started telling me that apparently the captain, because I asked him, he wasn't like, hey, watch out, this guy's like a real douchebag. I asked him, and he told me that this guy's like sort of like my old captain. He's extremely toxic. He blames people, and he was worse because he never showed up to any scrims. Then he showed up to games, and he was a diamond player with a GM team, and he was trying to play DPS for the GM team. So there were a lot of games where apparently he wouldn't be doing anything, and if you tried talking to him about him, he used to get super defensive. So then I left that team like day two. Um, then I lingered around a little bit more. Then I decided to. Then the PW. Then stuff happened with the Overguard. So this is sort of like the big thing that a lot of people don't know about. So before the Plus League got mixed up with the Overguard, something a lot of people don't know is that specifically Vegas and Gozi and Kilocon, they hated the PS4 community. Like we used to complain to them that we're not getting any more love. We barely got any stream games. The prize pools were decent, but it's like the community wasn't really being noticed. It started getting ignored. And something about the Overguard, if you don't know, it was created by Brett. Uh, People might know him, people might not. That was his handle. People also know him as Swaggy Brett Yo or Sosa Prime. That was his PSNs.
Uh-huh.
And essentially, he created the Overguard to create a PS4 league. And the first prize pool ever was his first paycheck he got when he made it, which was $60.
Hmm.
So
Interesting.
he funded it all by himself. Then he started getting people in. And essentially, before the Plus League came in, we got into a really messy spat. It was the entire PS4 community versus three of these three guys, Gozi, Vegas, and Kilocon. Gozi's gone to make his own org now, just so you know where they are. Killa is still there, active, and I think Vegas is still with them, but he never appears online because I don't think he wants anybody ever DMing him. Um, he actually put it in the meme channel, in the pictures and
Yeah.
not safe for work channel, like where you could post wherever you wanted. He literally wrote, "If you post something I don't like, you might get kicked. Do it at your own risk." So this guy was one of those guys who was high on his horse, and those guys were also like the guys who used to say they did a lot, but they never did anything. Um, so the PS4 community and those three guys, we were going at it. We were just yelling spamming in Discord, like, you guys don't even care about it. You guys blame the community for everything you guys do wrong. And they're like, oh, how weak is the. So something that was big, this was the big line, is that not Vegas, Gozi said, how weak is the community that you guys can't even stay together because we're not streaming your games? And then Sauce started replying, how are you gonna not do anything for the community and then expect us to like trust you guys and do it or whatnot? And it was really messy. And essentially these guys started cursing out console, like in general, like PS4 specifically, started calling us all toxic people.
Hmm.
And when it started going back and forth, I think it was Daiklan. Daiklan was like, "Yeah, this is going nowhere," and he just started spamming the Ocean Man copy pasta. And then me, Silent, Erwin, Hawks, we all just started spamming it too. We had all got kicked out from the. Everybody just started spamming Ocean Man. Nobody gave a shit anymore
Oh my
because
god.
Brett was going to leave the Overguard, and essentially they said they were going to shut down console. So because the league was also really messed up the point system. So essentially, we left on really bad terms. They blamed the PS4 community for everything,
Hmm.
and then a few days later, Brett came back and he created the PWO. And that's sort of where I really made my name in the community because I came in as an admin caster. Um, and the PWO was sort of like really big because it was sort of like PS4 only and done by the community. Like amateurs gamers is in the community, but there are a few people who are in the staff who are a few of the owners like Angel Amateur. They aren't really in the community. It's more like they're known as just like the owner slash staff, like Plague, Amateur, Angel. Um, like those guys aren't really in the community anymore. It's more like they just do stuff from the sidelines. Everybody
Oh.
in that Discord was in the games. Like everybody still played comp. Everybody actually Brett, the owner of it, was actually on a team. We only had one person who wasn't actually in the community, and that was Primera. And he was super active in Discord, always talking, always there. Um,
So
so it was really big. I think our first prize pool was like $400, and it was community only paid.
nice. That's dope.
Yeah, yeah, we went in. The first season was amazing. But the big problem was, and this started wearing down on me, and I don't know if anybody noticed in the community, but if you ask people, they'll back me up on this. But there were so many nights and so many days where I was doing everything by myself. Casters were hard to find, streamers were hard to find. Getting staff members to get on and cast me was like next to impossible. So there were nights where I stayed up for like 8 hours by myself streaming and casting and then going to bed and then going to school the very next morning and rinse and repeat. And I used to do this basically like every day for the week.
Wait,
And
was that
then
the was
season
that the
two,
community that I casted for that one time you had me cast?
yeah,
Yeah.
it
Okay.
was.
Yeah.
That community like sort of ran all the GMs whenever a low team actually came up, amateur doesn't know this, but whenever a low team would try to sign up, I would actually sort of like hint like, hey, you should probably check out amateur gamers. Like these guys are like all GMs, top 500s. Like there's a high chance that they're gonna rail you and all that. And I used to actually send quite a bit of players to amateur gamers.
Yeah.
But let's see. And so the PWO was going on, and we had two divisions. We had the PWO, which was sort of like the best of the best, and then we had the AWO, which was basically like any team could sign up, anyone at all, Amateur World League, and PWO was Premier World League. We
Oh.
we went in, the community was super supportive, and then season one ended. I remember Armory Esports won. They won out of nowhere. Like honestly, I think the finals are still up on YouTube. If anybody ever gets a chance, you guys should see it. Armory Esports was like the team at the bottom, and they brought in a certain player called Colt, and they brought in another player called Key to Success, who was like the best Mercy at the time. And Occult and Dynama and Key played out of their minds. They absolutely just turned up and they somehow won from coming from being the bottom team. And they weren't a team that like cheated or anything at all. So then the PWL season 2 came up and the qualifiers came up. And I don't know if you've ever heard of this, but in the higher tier communities, I still get joked about this. People always still poke at me with this. But I was doing it so frequently that one night, streaming in the playoffs, we had like 140 people watching, and I fell asleep midstream. The not even midstream. The final game of the qualifiers, like this was it. This was deciding which team was gonna be our very last team in the PWO, and I fell asleep right in the final game. Brett was casting. He started yelling because like the camera couldn't see me, so he was trying to like yell out everything that was happening exactly like word by word. That man
Oh my
started yelling
god.
out essays. And then finally we got Primera in here because the party was open. So but there was a limit. So we filled it up with Primera, and then he started streaming, and then Brett started saying, everyone go there, you'll watch him there. And then midway of PWO, I quit. And then I created my team, which was Phoenix Rising. And we were sort of like Vanquish, where we went under a lot of roster switches. And like Vanquish, we didn't want roster switches, but it just kept happening. Like, it just kept happening and happening, and then finally, I got my first stable six ever. You can ask any of these guys. We actually had really good chemistry. We had a really strong team, but then stuff happened. People couldn't play, and then the team got split. But that team was me, Creatures as support, had Nighthawk and Beltran as our tanks, and we had Orbit and Sexy Banana Pants or Sexy Grape Beans or whatever he's known as right now. We had those six, and we had like perfect synergy. Any dive we went through, like we just absolutely demolished. We were a mid masters team to a high masters team, and we were like giving top 500 teams like a run for their money. So many people like actually started complimenting us, like, "Hey, you guys are actually really good for your SR and everything. You guys actually have amazing teamwork."
That's
Um,
dope.
but then like stuff happened and we couldn't stay together. Then the team split apart. Then we tried coming back, but then that synergy was gone. And then stuff happened. This was all while the PWL was still going on. I was always there, just watching everything. And then season two, the Outlaws won. Overwatch Outlaws, and then came possibly one of the strongest Overwatch teams to ever be made, but also the cheapest and probably the team that cheated the most out of anyone.
Hmm.
They, yeah, so then the Phoenix Rising was going on, and then everybody split. So when Phoenix Rising split, I sort of went on another break, and I started filling in for teams. I started helping out whenever needed. I didn't really join a team, but then Xerox Reborn hit me up and asked me, "Do I want it to be the manager?" And he's like, and I was like, "Yeah, sure." And they were in the plus. Uh, and then the Plus League was also going on at this time. They merged with the Overguard, and now Outlaws won season one, and they were going into season two. And in the Plus League Season 2, they got me in as their manager, and I started helping them out and whatnot, getting teams together. And this is where it started to get really dirty, and I had proof and I had everything. Xerox always gave his accounts to other players on the team, and they would go on and play for him. There were times where it would be, for example, like Ghost Zero, or it would be like Supreme Errands, or it would be like the Ghost X2, the Reinhardt player, or Ryan AM, or like Comet Bleach. So essentially, like they cheated. Also, not only that, but there were I participated in this too for the Plus League. Xerox gave me his account to log in for a game against Lionheart, which was known as Volt Gaming at the time. And he also gave me Loki Ryan's main account, which was Ren. So I would play in the game because they wouldn't have had 6 people. So I came in on his account and I played for him. So I did that for the Outlaws, um, and it was really interesting. And also, all while doing this too, I also started something else, which I've openly admitted to it, is that I boost. I've been boosting for a while too. So I've done almost everything in this community. And then AG happened. Outlaws finally disbanded and everything. I had to go to India, so I couldn't participate in the Overguard. So I stayed with Amateur Gamer in his
How'd you
community
find
because of
Amateur Gamer? Like,
bankless.
where did that come from? Like, or how did you?
That so I was looking. So I think I found him out during the PWL. I was looking for casters, so I searched up Overwatch PS4 tournaments, and his was one of the only ones that popped up that wasn't the Overguard.
Hmm. Interesting.
Yep, he was one of the few guys that actually popped up. So I was looking for casters because we're consoles, so I don't expect casters to ever get like uh the right like any right orders like gold can only cast for AG. I don't ever expect anything like that. So I started looking for people, and I was really going after. No, actually, that's not the reason why. That's how I found one of amateurs. Like that's how I found amateur again. But the first time ever was also through Bureaus.
Oh,
So Bureaus was a big Destiny streamer. I don't know about how well you know Gold, but Gold was a big Destiny player. So
interesting.
he was in B-Rose's stream and he was talking, "Hey man, how are you?" Yada yada, and all that. And then at the end, it's like, "All right, well, I'm gonna go like cast a tournament. See you guys." And I was like, "Wait, hold up, tournament cast? I need casters for the PWO." So then I looked them up, and then I started DMing him like, "Hey, I heard you're casting a tournament. Which tournament are you casting?" And he's like, "Amateur Gamer," and he hooked me up with all that information. But then I remember I had to go somewhere, and then I forgot
Mhm.
about it, and then I naturally searched up Amateur Gamer on my own.
Ah, see,
Yeah,
that's happened to me before too. When someone's like, "Oh, you should check this out," and then I'm like, "Oh yeah, whatever," and then end up finding it later. I'm like, "Oh,
you
I found
naturally
this."
find them.
Yeah, and then it just happened to be fate, I guess. But then you mostly were helping out AG with a bunch of stuff in the staff.
Oh yeah, when I found AG, I so AG didn't have Discord. He had no idea what Discord was. The reason why the Discord looks even half as nice, I know Zach's been messing it up, and it's kind of pissed me off because I know I can't clean it up. He's made up so
Oh,
many mistakes with the Discord. I'm just sitting here like, how do you do this, Zach?
you
Please no.
you and Zach are like on like at each other's throats. Like, well, I don't know about you, but Zach is not your biggest fan, and this is interesting. Anyway, continue.
Honestly,
How has he messed up the Discord? Now I want to know.
with the permissions and the bots, he doesn't really. He says he knows Discord, but honestly, it's like half the stuff he's done, he could have done in a way cleaner manner. There's like no need for like half the stuff he does. He doesn't really. it doesn't feel like he knows what he's doing on Discord, but it doesn't feel like he understands what he's doing, if that makes sense. It's more
Ah,
like he's watched a couple of people do it and he's just doing it, but he doesn't know why they did it. Um, so I set up the Discord. I got in the bots and everything. I remember I wanted to get Couchbot in there too to help Amateur out, but he was against it. But I know we have a music bot, but it's so useless. Nobody ever uses it. I know we have Me6 they're doing, but literally, other than ranks and streaming Twitch, that account that does nothing. Wait, I actually here. Let me check something. I remember I tried doing it. I don't know if it's still there. Somebody might have deleted it. Hold on. Ah. Oh no, they haven't. So I added in commands where if you typed in like quotation mark YouTube and whatnot, it would link in like amateur YouTube and everything.
uh-huh.
Um, and I remember Zach once said to somebody that he didn't know how to do those commands, and that's sort of like something really basic actually. But yeah, I set up the Discord. I actually hit up Amateur with like I got Amateur in contact with a lot of like high tier teams, like not personal face to face contact, but I
Yeah,
got him in contact like as in I got him in their Discords. I got him competing and stuff like that.
yeah. No, I'm still struggling. I
Um,
still struggle with Discord, honestly. Like it took me forever to figure out how to do the freaking ads or the freaking
oh no,
emojis. I was so
that's
bad. I was like, how do we
that's
make the eyes? What is going on?
that
Yeah, but
that's
yeah. So I don't blame Zach if for not knowing things. I was really bad.
an
Anyway,
admin in the I was actually an admin in the Discord, but I got removed. And a lot of people don't know why, or a lot of people get apparently a misconception about it. Is Amateur actually removed it because there was a big miscommunication from us. So there was like this tournament coming out, and it was like a really good friend of mine. So just started DMing the captains. I obviously didn't want to at them publicly in Discord because that I felt like that would have been like rude to Amateur being like, hey, in the middle of Discord, like, hey, go join this tournament, what by Amateur's tournaments. So I started DMing them privately, giving them the option with no like outside review or felt like I'm like trying to publicly say, hey, leave this or anything like that. But I just sent them the info to the Discord. Like that's literally it. It was up to like Brett himself to actually sort of like close the deal to like, hey, sign up. So people in the Overguard started messaging me that saying, hey, you can't do that. And Amateur took away my admin and he didn't tell me until a little bit later when he was finally free that like, hey, I felt like it was a lot like a breach of trust that like, hey, you started just hitting up all my captains out of nowhere.
uh, I see.
So that's just like a little history of what's been going on. But amateur me, I feel like we're still on pretty good terms off that. A lot of big decisions that amateur has actually taken, I felt like have been off me. So a big one obviously would be the SR limit. So before the limits were actually your career limit. I convinced amateur that hey, this should be a season limit. This shouldn't be a career limit. Another one was this hasn't been really done, but it's still there. Um, so if you're in a diamond game, if in a diamond tournament, and you're a coach, you technically have the right to go into the lobby, be locked to your team only, but you can do that, and you can actually coach your team while being in the lobby midway.
I think I was there when you were bringing that up too in one of those chats, or I was listening in on some way or another because I remember something like that. That's
I
quite
was in a
interesting.
call. I put it in the public Discord a little bit. I put it in the staff chat, but then like Zach and Plague, they started saying, I don't know how that would really work and whatnot. Oh yeah, me and Plague were in a big discussion about it, and we weren't even arguing. We were just talking back and forth. I
Yeah.
actually love that discussion. But I know amateur, really, and I just like I just messaged him privately, and normally he responds to me whenever I message him privately because I've told him like, hey, if I have ever anything serious, I'll DM you about it. I won't ever message you publicly. But yeah.
Interesting. No, it's crazy how far we've come after all this time and the origins. And it's just crazy.
Oh yeah, and
Um,
I have so many relationships with like people. I have so many funny stories with everyone.
it's
Is there any funny stories you want on anyone? I'm saying I got quite
uh,
a bit on a lot of people.
not really. Just because the fact that they might not want to share it publicly, I guess. I don't know.
Oh no,
Um,
these aren't stories that have been done privately. These are stories that were done in the public, and I've watched them. So don't worry. Like if I don't have a story that's public with them, I'll say, oh, I don't got anything public with them. You can go ahead
no,
and ask.
no, it's all good, man. Um,
Wow, one in a lifetime opportunity.
was there anything you wanted to really say for like a closing statement or anything like you wanted to end the podcast with?
Um, honestly, is I think you should. This is more like a little. I feel like this is a little bit of feedback to you. I think you
Okay.
should like interview like entire teams. Like for example, like you know how Jade won it. I think you should. I personally feel like you should interview the entire team of Jade.
I've thought about doing multiple people on one thing before. Um, but um I don't know. I guess because it's been the whole formula before, just really talking to one person, and like the whole purpose of this thing was to get to know that person in particular. And I guess
Getting to know a team.
because this isn't, like I said, this isn't an interview. It would be good getting to know a team, but then everyone has all these stories, and I think at that point it would take way more than an hour. Um, because at this point I don't think I'm going to. Well, everyone has the option to, but before I was like, oh, I'm gonna interview everyone or podcast with everyone, and now I'm just gonna do those, or I think I'll have amateur message anyone who wants to do it, message me, I guess, and I'll go through that hell again.
Oh, you're gonna
But
have a
anyone,
waiting list.
yeah, like legit, the first Team Watch episode, I got you don't understand the amount of people like asking.
Who did you interview first? I think it was Blue Ninja,
It was
right?
Blue Ninja first, when we were still playing, well, kind of playing on the same team, because he had asked first, and when it got brought up, and I was like, I guess, sure, because it was kind of a test run. It was actually kind of a bad episode because my audio and my settings weren't correct as how I wanted them to be. It's doing better now after the first couple
Yeah,
tries,
and you got more experience
and
now to like
after.
what to talk to people.
Well, I mean, I've always been a talker. Like my whole job is about talking to people anyway, so it kind of comes naturally. Um, but it took a while before I'm figuring out all this the intro out because I started the stream like I said before before the episode started, um, letting it play a little bit so I can get the intro in there because like up to Plague was the last episode I had where it cut off the intro and I'm just kind of pissed about that. But yeah,
Re-interview him.
nah, I don't. Everyone's getting their thing, but um, no, it's been fun. We'll definitely still see you around the Discord. With that positive mental attitude of
Oh yeah, PMA.
yeah, PMA
This
guys.
this podcast has been sponsored by Positive Mental Attitude.
Eh, Amateur, insert here the picture of the guy with the thumbs up. Cool.
Oh, Taimu. You're talking about Taimu.
That'd be cool. But anyway,
I'll send him
thanks.
the picture. Please, amateur, please.
It's already been done. Oh, look, there it is, all right there. Oh, cool. Look. If not, then oh well. But thanks, Mulani, for joining me today. I know you've been wanting to do an episode for a while, and I'm glad we finally got to
Hey,
get to your story
Lamau.
and whatnot. A Lamau. Uh,
I
but yeah, stay tuned for some new Team Watch episodes. We should be hopefully getting one once a week and possibly two a week. I think I talked to Amateur about that. I haven't really worked out the details. So yeah, you guys have yourselves a lovely day.